New this morning on Mornings LALATE. A shocking developing detail overnight as Chuck Schumer wins a major event. What the Chuck? I have all the details in this major development that impacts not just your $1,400 third stimulus check landing tomorrow, but those 4 stimulus checks landing thereafter. What happened? I have all the details. Overnight, Chuck Schumer won a major reconciliation determination by the Senate parliamentarian, which impacts your 4 stimulus checks, multiple stimulus checks to the end of this year. It's a reconciliation win no one anticipated. I had given it a 50-50% chance of winning, and now it's a reality. I'll explain its implication for you into today's Mornings LALATE. Meantime, how soon could the president get this 4th stimulus with hashtag MSC out the door? There's a lot of money at stake, and that money at issue has a lot of items to do, and that money would be yours. A fortune in money for checks throughout the end of this year. 4 stimulus suddenly got a push that no one saw coming. And I have all those details in today's recording. Also, I'll cut into a live broadcast from the White House that's about to go live any minute with the press secretary addressing the issues of 4 stimulus. It's a major morning's broadcast. I'm so excited you're here. Let's get ready to rock and roll. This is the start of your Tuesday morning. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering, and this is Mornings LALATE.
Headquarters in Santa Monica. This is Mornings LALATE.
No one saw this coming, and certainly not Bernie Sanders either, as a 4th stimulus package with reoccurring monthly stimulus checks has now a reality, and that reality formulated last night. How are you? Good morning. It's Tuesday morning. Did you crush the Monday? Well, Chuck Schumer crushed the Senate rules last night, and no one saw this coming. Congratulations. Hashtag MSC now has a reality. And in this video, I'll go over why last night absolutely changed the playing field for stimulus for the rest of this year and potentially into next year. It's a lot of shocking developing details. I'll go over 4 stimulus, that 3rd stimulus check accord that's landing tomorrow, and we'll be cutting into that live feed from the press secretary any moment. I see you in the live chat. I'll be interacting with you, and I hope your morning is going well. And no, that was not Sirloin dressed as the Easter Bunny yesterday. You know, if they had dispatched Sirloin as the Easter Bunny, he would have just sort of toppled over all the time. So how are you? If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. This channel is turning 1 year old this month, and we're trying to get 400,000 subscribers. So let's do it. Be part of this incredible family, and also like this video. Let's try to do 3,000 likes. This may be a longer video. I'm going to stay with the press secretary as long as she is on point. And also consider becoming a member, Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. The money at issue for reoccurring stimulus checks is enormous. If the stimulus checks went out in the month of July and the bill became law in June, these are the numbers. $2,000 a month to December, $12,000. $1,400 a month, $8,400. This is if you're an individual. Married couple, double it. Child, the same amount. Adult dependent, same amount. If you're on SSI or SSDI, Social Security or Railroad benefits, same amount. And this would be paid monthly to anyone who made the same income qualification of the $1,400 third stimulus check that's landing tomorrow. This is huge. And how did this come to fruition? And why did no one see this coming? Well, I had been telling you since last week that Chuck Schumer had quietly asked the Senate parliamentarian for guidance on whether he can amend a prior reconciliation with a later reconciliation. I told you it was a 50-50 issue, and I didn't know if it would win, but he asked it quietly with not much fanfare, and last night the ruling came in. Let me explain how many reconciliations there are at issue and where we are right now. This is a graphic authored this morning by LALATE here right now. The third stimulus package was done by using a recon that was left over by the Democrats, saved from last year. They saw the President of the United States coming in January, so they saved their fall 2020 recon for the third stimulus package in January. Yesterday's ruling by the Senate parliamentarian said the following, that for purpose of the fourth stimulus, Schumer can go back and amend the third stimulus. Yes, do more stimulus checks. Yes, do more relief. Yes, do more rent and food and all those items. Yes, he can amend the third stimulus and do it again with fourth stimulus. Next, every session, the Senate has one recon to do and one recon available. Well, this spring session, which started in January and goes to the summer, the Democrats have a new recon available. That would be the fifth stimulus. And then in September, they have a brand new one because the new Senate session starts in September. In essence, if you look at this chart, the Democrats could do recons all the way until next year. The to-do list now seems like a reality. The to-do list is those MSCs, FPUC retro, unpaid FPUC from July to December of last year, that SSI reform, SSDI, that hazard pay, and that minimum wage. More about those details in a second. But what you need to know is that no one saw this coming, and this was a major win for the Democrats and the White House. The press secretary is about to address the American people. I'll cut in as soon as she does. But here's what you need to know about the reaction last night to the news. As soon as the news hit, Democrats across the board appraised the event. After the news was announced late on Monday, and if you tune into a special broadcast news of LALATE last night live, I detailed for you the shocking developments. Leader Schumer's spokesperson said in a statement last night, the parliamentarian has just advised that a revised budget reconciliation may contain budget reconciliation instructions again. This confirms the leader's interpretation of the Budget Act and allows Democrats additional tools to improve the lives of Americans if Republicans' obstruction continues. And then came more. Spokesperson Justin Goodman issued the statement obtained by LALATE last night. While no decisions have been made on the legislative path forward using 304 and some parameters we still need to be worked out, the parliamentarian's opinion is an important step forward that is a key pathway that avails Democrats what they need. While it's still great needs to be worked out, this was just the opening salvo for what will be a long, great run, said an insider to CNN. And then Ron Wyden, the Democrat who wants to give you those monthly reoccurring stimulus checks, heralded the news as well. But let's listen in to the press secretary as she addresses the American people right now.
Groups and more. And the Office of Legislative Affairs is coordinating about 30 briefings for majority and minority committee staff of committees with jurisdiction over the American Jobs Plan. These efforts will continue, of course, when members return to Washington. And as I noted yesterday, the President looks forward to welcoming members to the White House. And as we have that locked in, we'll provide more details to all of you. Today, Vice President Harris joined the COVID response team's weekly governors meeting to discuss our country's pandemic response, the progress we've made, and the work to come in our fight against the virus. The Vice President highlighted the country's work in the pandemic response to date, including today's announcement that the President will announce officially later this afternoon that we've reached 150 million shots in arms since entering government, and that by April 19th, all adult Americans will be eligible to get the vaccine. That doesn't mean they will get it that day. It means they can join the line that day if they have not already done that beforehand. She also noted the important work to come, in particular around ensuring access to the vaccine in every community and building confidence in the vaccine in every community. She highlighted best practices to ensure equity remains at the cornerstone of our vaccination effort. She also touched on the $3 billion in funding, largely from the American Rescue Plan, that will enable states and cities to support community-based organizations in launching new programs to increase vaccine access, acceptance, and uptake. And there was some more news today about how that will be distributed and used. She's also in Chicago today focusing on vaccine equity. In Chicago alone, the CDC will invest $33 million to support efforts to increase vaccine distribution and access with a specific focus on communities of color. Also today, in his weekly update, part of the same call, I should say for clarity, COVID response coordinator Jeff Zients announced there will be more than 28 million doses across channels this week. Cumulatively, over the past 3 weeks, we will have sent out nearly 90 million doses of the vaccine. He also stressed to governors that while we continue to make strong progress, it is critical that we continue to mask up and socially distance. Josh, why don't you kick us off?
Thanks, Jen. On the vaccine and vaccination announcement, we've kind of known for weeks that you'd see this ramp up in production. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, why move up the timeline now? Is there a desire to make sure that people who are hesitant or reluctant to get a vaccine feel like they can do so? What's the thinking there?
Well, first, the president had already announced that he was asking states to move up their timelines. So this is more providing clarity to the American public who may tune in to the president's remarks or clips that you all share on the news that they're all eligible. It provides clarity, it reduces confusion, and it ensures that Americans who are not yet vaccinated, who are looking to get vaccinated, they know they are all eligible, all adults, I should say, on April 19th.
And then, secondly, it's been about a week since the president announced his infrastructure plan. Mm-hmm. Lots of states, counties, cities are wondering how they would qualify for any money. Do you have any details on what that process would look like?
Sure. Well, first, ultimately, it will be up to Congress and something we'll have a conversation with members and committees about. That's part of why it's so important to engage at a committee level and staff level. And many of you who have been through a journey like this before know this, but let me just reiterate some of the pieces of the process. Funding for transportation projects can typically be allocated through two different types of grants, and we expect a mix to be discussed, either formula grants or competitive grants. So formula grants are allocated to states.
What you're walking right now is a briefing by the press secretary about the fourth stimulus package. Let's cut back to that shocking developing details last night, which impacts you in a way no one saw coming. This is your to-do list, and now MSC remains a reality. Democrats have won overnight a major ruling on the reconciliation process. If you're just joining me, let me explain the details. In the last few days, quietly, Leader Schumer had asked the Senate parliamentarian if he can go back and amend the last reconciliation with a new reconciliation so that he would not use up one still left over in his pocket. And the ruling last night was yes. So the fourth stimulus package, which is now currently underway, that infrastructure bill, would be an amendment of the third stimulus package. And then Leader Schumer could do a fifth stimulus package between now and this summer, if he wishes to, with the spring recon he has not used from 2021. In September, he has a new one because you have one every Senate term, and that recon for 6 would kick off in the winter. My opinion is that the sixth stimulus would have stimulus checks in there as well, because Democrats want those stimulus checks going into the midterm elections. Here was more of the reaction last night to the shocking developing news when it unfolded. Ron Wyden, who is that leader that has pushed for multiple stimulus checks, as one of 21 Democrats who wrote the president a letter several days ago, not once, but 3 times, and has pushed for FPUC retro, telling viewers this channel that if you got Democrats on board for it, he would support it, said the following in a news statement last night to released late last night. Ron Wyden said, "I'm pleased by the parliamentarians' ruling that the budget reconciliation can be revised, allowing us to consider moving additional bills through the reconciliation process. The American people want bold action to address our country's many challenges, and the Democrats now have more options to overcome Republicans' obstruction and get things done." So what are those many challenges? Ron Wyden before has said multiple stimulus checks and FPUC retro. Elsewhere, there was reaction and jubilation coming in overnight, and among that came from Bernie Sanders, another individual who co-signed the multiple stimulus checks. How much money they want you to have? They want you to have a check every month to the end of this year. They want the income qualification to be the same as the third stimulus check, which is landing tomorrow by Direct Express by Comerica or your banks. And they want that money to go out quickly. This is the calculation. If they got the bill into law by June and the check in your hand in July, then every month over 12 months, over the months till December would be $12,000. And if they got that bill into law by June and that checks out the door in July at $1,400 a month, it would be $8,400. This would be for you. If you're on SSI and SSDI, this would be you. If you're a single individual who makes less than $75,000, this would be you. If you're a child, if you're an adult dependent, the same amount of money. This is a huge amount of money and a massive win that changed the whole landscape for stimulus overnight. Bernie Sanders issued a statement late last night which said that this win was important because it gives us a little more flexibility. In other words, right now, Sanders said, what this new reconciliation package is about is dealing with long-term structural problems. Everybody knows our physical infrastructure is collapsing. We know we can create millions of jobs, transform our energy system away from fossil fuel, but we also have to deal with human infrastructure. What's human infrastructure? It's presumably stimulus checks. Another aide said this is a good step forward, and we still have to work out the details. The Senate parliamentarian's opinion, Schumer's spokesperson, sent a statement last night obtained by LALATE, is an important step forward that this is the key pathway available for Democrats right now. Huge, huge, incredible, great news. Let's listen in more to what the press secretary is saying now about forced stimulus.
And what there was, however, was record-setting turnout, especially by voters of color. So instead, what we're seeing here is for politicians who didn't like the outcome, they're not changing their policies to win more votes. They're changing the rules to exclude more voters. And we certainly see the circumstances as different. But ultimately, sorry, let me add one more thing. It's up to Major League Baseball to determine where they're holding their All-Star game.
Okay, a quick one from a colleague who could not be here. You're talking about the new vaccine eligibility deadline. Mm-hmm. Is the supply ramping up quicker than expected? And if not, what does moving the eligibility deadline up actually do in practice? Like, are more people going to get vaccinated faster?
That's our hope, absolutely. And we have expedited the supply. So there's been nearly 90 million doses in our funding of community health centers, of mass vaccination sites, because we also know people need to have places to go.
During that exchange, one viewer, Susan, asked, what does that stimulus check that's arriving in the mailbox today, what does the envelope look like? This is what the envelope looks like. It's generally beige or white. If it's white, there's no insignia, no logo on it. There's a little bit of red lettering in the middle that says information about your economic impact payment. That's if it's the white envelope. It's the beige envelope, it's much the same. There is nothing particularly on the envelope that has a stamp or a seal. So basically, you need to look for a very thin white envelope or a beige envelope. The great news is that those stimulus checks that are for mail are landing today. They landed yesterday as well. Those March 26 mail checks are landing today. Those April 2nd to April 5th checks are landing today. And later this week, those April 9th checks are landing. Tomorrow is April 7th, and the big banks make the deposits available tomorrow. Let's look at that graphic right now about that arriving of that stimulus check tomorrow. The stimulus checks were sent out on Friday. On Saturday, the tool updated itself. And on Wednesday, tomorrow, April 7th, the funds are available. Now, later in the week, people who are getting a mail check, it's going to come on April 9th. But Direct Express by Comerica releasing the funds tomorrow, April 7th. Also, the big banks, Bank of America, Chase, all releasing the funds tomorrow. But if you're one of those people that banks at the smaller banks, like the Green Dot or the TurboTax or the NetSpend, and have not gotten your deposit by now, you want to watch the mail because it's likely in the mail. More about that coming up in this video. Let's listen into more what the press secretary is saying.
The medical field, it's an accomplishment for the people who are running the operational piece. It's an accomplishment for the, the medical experts locally who are running these programs in different states.
Briefly on Georgia, when the president voiced his support for moving it, does he have any regret now that by doing that, by adding his voice, it may have contributed to the environment where MLB makes this decision, and then there are these economic consequences to people in Georgia? When he and the vice president were there and couldn't do the car rally, and I talked about wanting to thank Georgia. Georgia's been important to the president and vice president electorally. Is there a sense of regret that perhaps he tipped the scale with his rhetoric, even if he doesn't have a direct cause and effect?
Well, he was answering a direct question during an interview with ESPN about the opening day baseball, something everybody, not everybody, most people in the country appreciate and enjoy. And he was simply conveying that he would support that decision if that decision was made by Major League Baseball, just like he would support.
Let's cut back to the big exciting news that happened overnight. If you're just joining me, last night, Chuck Schumer won a major ruling that he can do another reconciliation for the fourth stimulus package. The fourth stimulus package will have multiple stimulus checks. And the big issue at hand is how quickly he can get this bill to the Senate. The bill to the Senate needs to go there because of the question of how quickly it can get out the door. There's two things at issue when you look at the money. First, every month that a stimulus check is not sent out costs you a stimulus check. But more importantly, the economy is rebounding, and you don't want the economy to sit around and rebound while you're waiting for that stimulus check to land. It's important to understand that in the last few days, the narrative, or at least the discussion among some people, has been whether or not this can get done. Yesterday, Joe Manchin had the following to say about the stimulus package. As the bill exists now, I think it needs to be changed. This is Manchin talking. I think it should have never been the corporate tax rate under 25% under Trump. That's the worldwide average. Here's what you need to know, is that the current narrative, at least in broadcast news, is the corporate tax rate of the fourth stimulus package, not so much the other item provisions. That's why as Purple Power, you need to get this bill front and center on social media and share and tag elected officials with this video and say, we need this bill out the door as quickly as possible.
Some who would identify as moderate Democrats or Republicans of discussing
corporate tax rate may be covered by broadcast news, but corporate tax rate is not what is derailing or causing any concern for the bill. The President of the United States said the following yesterday about the corporate taxes. There's no evidence that corporations will relocate internationally if we raise the corporate tax rate. Meantime, Janet Yellen, your Treasury Secretary, said she's reaching out to G20 countries to raise their corporate tax rate. That's not going to work because no one's going to listen to an American Treasury Secretary about their corporate tax rates overseas. What's important to understand is that Manchin's compromise, which is keep the corporate tax rate at about 25%, works. Here's what he's saying. Previously, the corporate tax rate was over 30%. Under the Trump administration, it was lowered to 21%. The Biden fourth stimulus package proposes to put it at 28%. Do it at 25%, and then you got the compromise to get this bill to the Senate. The sooner the bill gets to the Senate, the sooner the bill goes out the door. And this is in view of the jobs numbers on Friday. Last Friday, the jobs numbers were released, and it showed that of 8 million jobs in the country, there's 1 million jobs being restored per month. But analysts said that there may be as much as 2 million jobs being restored monthly in the month of April. We won't know that to the end of this month. But if that's true, in 4 months, the jobs could be restored. And if in 4 months the jobs are restored, you want this bill in the Senate as soon as possible. I'll have more about these details coming up. As the toast is toasting, the butter is still buttering, and the coffee is brewing. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Mornings LALATE with the breaking news that formulated last night. Chuck Schumer wins a major ruling. The ruling provides that Chuck Schumer may amend the third stimulus package with the fourth stimulus package. Do a recon that amends a prior recon. That sets up in place the path for reoccurring stimulus checks. Ron Wyden, Bernie Sanders, and 20 other Democratic senators have vowed that as soon as the bill lands in the Senate, they're going to amend it to give you monthly stimulus checks. But the question was, how often and how soon could they do that? That major ruling last night sets in place that it can be done right away. It's absolutely jaw-dropping, incredible. This is nothing that anyone saw coming, and it blindsided American across the board. The fourth reconciliation will be an amendment of the third reconciliation bill, and it can be done right away. And then Schumer has yet a new fifth stimulus bill he can do by recon thereafter, because he's allowed one per session. In the fall, he gets a brand new one under the Senate rules, and he can do a sixth stimulus bill in the fall. Ultimately, the to-do list is very clear. Multiple stimulus checks, FPUC retro, SSI reform, hazard pay, and minimum wage. But with Democratic senators vowing to do those recurring stimulus checks, it's a lot of money, and that money could hit right away. The numbers are like nothing we've previously seen. If the stimulus checks are $2,000 a month, it would be $12,000. If the stimulus checks are $1,400 a month, it would be $8,400. You want this bill in the Senate as soon as possible. Let's hear the press secretary's briefing right now about fourth stimulus. It's currently underway.
Will have been in line or will even be vaccinated, as we've seen by the numbers before then. But it is going to take the American people going, masking up, socially distancing, and going and getting vaccinated. We're going to make that as easy as possible, but there are roles that we can play, and then there are roles that the public have to play.
My question is, once they get in line on the 19th, by the 19th, how long that line ultimately may be? There's not a new update on that.
I don't have a new update on that. I think it's just important for clarity purposes to convey. It doesn't mean everybody will be vaccinated by April 19th, which is, I know why you're asking the question. It means that everybody will be eligible to go to their local pharmacy, go to their community health center, mobile vaccination site, mass vaccination site on that date and moving forward.
One more unrelated to the vaccine. Over the weekend, there was reporting that at Guantanamo, a facility was closed and some detainees were consolidated. Mm-hmm. Is that indicative at all of the Pentagon's review of closing Gitmo, of the president's plan, and a timeline to potentially make that proposal to close Gitmo?
The president remains committed. That is his desire and the outcome he would like to see. Obviously, that process would be overseen by the Department of Defense, so I would refer you to them for more specifics about those moves and that announcement. Go ahead.
So another foreign policy question.
Meantime, breaking news from Wall Street this morning, as leading investors now say that Vegas is the new euphoria going forward. Mark Tapper, CEO of Strategic Wealth Partners, says that airline tickets from Cleveland to Las Vegas have quadrupled over the last few months. Insiders now believe that the reopening play for investors should be casino stocks like MGM and Wynn. Las Vegas accounts for 40% of MGM's total revenue, insiders say, and that while you're considering reopening just for travel, there's also the conferences. A new report out today from Michael Baptist, managing director of Vios Advisors, obtained by LALATE, says that Vegas is going to be one of the first places that conferences come back when people need to meet and where people need to get together, probably in third and fourth quarter financial numbers. Elsewhere, Mark Tapper, CEO of Strategic Wealth, has his own inside information. He says, I have my boots on the ground research informs me that the pool party staffs of the hotels in Vegas have been rehiring. They're getting ready for an influx of people right now, meaning travel may be kicking up in high gear. Elsewhere, do you need a new job? Out of nowhere, United Airlines says that they will train you to become a pilot, something you would never hear in this country. Usually, it's very hard to get a pilot job. But United Airlines announced today that it's starting to accept applications for its flight academy and is looking to hire upwards of 10,000 new pilots who have no prior flight experience whatsoever. This is because of a new federally mandated retirement age of 65 years of age. United Airlines recently bought a flight attendant school to teach people how to become pilots. Elsewhere, their $10,200 for unemployment got a new twist today with a new report out saying that some tax preparers may consider filing an amended tax return to claim that $10,200 tax credit. Remember, over the last few days, I've told you that if you filed your tax return already and paid taxes on your unemployment, don't worry, they're going to issue a refund. Well, a series of reports today suggests in some cases you might want to do an amended return. Elsewhere, the elderly got incredible great news today, as a new report says that 75% of 65 years and older elderly have gotten at least one vaccine, says Dr. Walensky in a new report. And finally, as you heard early in this press conference, on April 19th, the president will expand the COVID vaccines to all U.S. adults, moving it up from May 1st. If you're just joining me, this is the breaking news. The great news across the board is that 14 of our third stimulus checks will land tomorrow, Wednesday, by direct deposit, April 7th. The funds will be available throughout the day. They don't necessarily just post at 12:05 a.m. Second, if you're on Direct Express by Comerica, they'll post as well. Big banks will be posting throughout the day. If you don't see a fund post by the end of the day, then you're a mail check. Those March 26 mail checks are coming. Those April 2nd to April 8th checks are coming. But the big push now of what's coming next is those multiple stimulus checks. Those multiple stimulus checks have now gotten an incredible push because of a major win by Chuck Schumer. And that major win by Chuck Schumer, announced last night, allows Schumer to do several reconciliations, not just one more. And those reconciliations will give you that incredible stimulus. Away we go. Big money and big money happening. I'm really excited for you. This is shocking, great news. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. Let's see if we can get to 400,000 subscribers. It's our one year anniversary at the end of this month. And let's try to do 2,000-3,000 likes on this video. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member because, wow, over the next few days, you'll see a lot more advisories from Treasury about modifying things. You're going to see new items go live on the third stimulus. You want to have the PDFs for all of them. And with that, thank you for your great questions and comments during the live chat. I saw them as well. Stay informed, stay focused. I'll be back with you in a little bit, and stay with LA for more.